Greetings and salutations, everyone. I hope everyone is doing well today. Today we are going to take a trip to the land of Ham, or the mother of mankind, or the dark continent. Yeah, we're going to Africa, because encounters don't always just happen here. They happen worldwide, and I've got some doozies and some really interesting education to share with you. Before we get into today's upload, though, a couple links. As you know, I rely on my Patreon, my PayPal, and my merch store to help the channel to continue to grow and go. Those links are in the description below. Also, Dogman Frightening Encounters, Volume 1, 2, and 3, the audiobook version, written by Tom Lyons, narrated and produced by me, Jeffrey Nadolny. They're available on Audible, Amazon, and iTunes. The links to those can be found in the description as well. Now, everyone, I've taken enough of your time. Let's get on with today's upload, shall we? Today's first part of the upload is going to be a unsolved, unknown animal attack, which will lead us into something I think is very, very interesting, and I'm sure the majority of you will as well, if not all. A man is nursing injuries at the Kerugoya County Referral Hospital in Kiranyaga County after he was attacked by an unknown wild animal that bit off his private parts and his right hand fingers. Julius Kebu, 39, who spoke to Citizen Digital from his hospital bed, said he was on his way to his workplace in Kairanja schools at around 6 in the morning when he was attacked by an animal. Kaibu said he struggled with the animal, which he described as daring. While he screamed for help before neighbors rushed to his rescue, his private parts and fingers had already been bitten off. Two of his neighbors who came to his rescue also sustained minor injuries and were treated at the same facility and discharged. Area residents are now appealing to the Kenya Wildlife Service to send a team to secure the area, which they say is prone to marauding animals, to prevent similar attacks in the future. Cases of human-wildlife conflict in Kayandari area have been on the rise in the last 2 months. Now, reading that and then trying to find more news coverage and coming up with nothing only reminds me of attacks in America, which now leads me into the second part of the upload. In the village of Etuga, Ethiopia, on any given night in late October, local farmers make sure to return from tending their livestock well before the sun sets. The markets close up and the mothers beckon their children home from play, a distinct urgency in their voices. "Were you playing by the blacksmith's house?" a mother may ask as she ushers her children indoors. "You know you are to stay away from him." The children nod their heads. Though it is about 2.5 miles from the nearest town, Etuga might as well be its own province. It isn't just silent after dark. With fewer than 200 residents, the hamlet melts into the countryside, an accessory to the landscape rather than an urban force imposing its will. From the safety of their homes, the residents can hear the sounds of the East African highlands. A steady buzz of insects, the chirps of nightjars, and even so often a high-pitched yip of the hyena, almost passable as human mirth. Rattled by the sound, mothers tuck their children into bed each night with a warning that the were-hyena transforms at night, and they have a taste for children. According to legend, were-hyenas have long plagued places like Etuga around the Horn of Africa, Ethiopia, Somalia, Sudan. Kids who wander away after dark are at risk. Strangers passing through town are subject to suspicion. That sound that you could swear was a human voice calling your name from a distance. Unlike their folkloric cousin, the werewolf, were-hyenas can be either human-born or hyenas disguising themselves as humans. Also, unlike werewolves, were-hyenas are believed to be capable of transforming with the help of a magic stick or sprinkling of ash. Sometimes the smell of human flesh alone can be enough to trigger a transformation. In one sense, the origins of the were-hyena legend make perfect sense. Hyenas and humans have had a consistent and adversarial relationship that dates back to the earliest human presence in Africa. For millennia, the nocturnal creatures have been known to converge in cackles at night, breaking into village huts, killing children, and ravaging livestock. As Marcus Baines Rock, who studies human-animal relationships at the Research Fellow at University of Notre Dame, puts it, these days humans tend to see themselves as in total control of their environment. But in rural Africa, a hyena attack is not a freak accident. It's an unfortunate fact of life. There's some acceptance that we are not the apex predator. As a result, unsurprisingly, were-hyenas became Africans' proxy for all manners of danger lurking beyond human settlements. Like their hyena cousins, they are solitary, but also known to hunt in groups, strong, with an insatiable appetite and reputation for luring people from the safety of their homes. Mothers use the myth of were-hyenas to reinforce the risks of things known to be dangerous, such as wandering off at night, in addition to the unknown. Where were-hyena folklore takes a surprising turn is in the exact other that they came to represent. Known as scavengers, inaccurately, since hyenas acquire much of their food from hunting. The animals weren't just seen as antagonistic, but cowardly and repulsive. One early myth originating from the Ivory Coast describes how hyena attempts to convince all other animals to kill the first man and woman in existence. Fortunately, dog warns our ancestors, foiling hyena's plot and saving humanity. Similarly, were-hyena mythology centers the idea that they are not just a threat, but a lowly, vile one. In some regions, this evolved into the means of further isolating othered populations. In Ethiopian folklore, for example, were-hyenas were referred to as Boda, a term synonymous with the evil eye. In Amhara tradition, this notion dates back to creation. As legend goes, Eve was the mother of 30 children, and one day God asked her to show him them. Suspicious of his intentions, Eve hid 15 of her children, and when he discovered her disobedience, he cursed the children to be Boda as punishment. Over time, the term became synonymous with the lower, uneducated artisan class, and blacksmiths in particular. For a time, all blacksmiths in Ethiopian culture were believed to be Boda, capable of wielding the power of the evil eye to transform into were-hyenas at will. Belief in Boda continues today, and is fairly widespread throughout Ethiopia as well as to a lesser degree in Sudan, Tanzania, and Morocco. Blacksmithing was a profession traditionally dominated by the Jews of Ethiopia, a tiny minority in the country whose presence there dates back to antiquity, also known as Beta Israel, and believed to be descended from the tribe of Dan, who fled the civil war in the kingdom of Israel between Solomon's son Rehoboam and Nebat's son Jeroboam. The Jews of Ethiopia were not allowed to own land or attend most schools. This left them professions such as blacksmithing, an inherited trade that required no formal education. Don Seaman, a scholar of religion and Jewish studies Edamori University believes that labeling the Jewish population of Ethiopia as Boda was a form of ideologic segregation, largely by drawing associations between Boda and craft, creating a seamless mythic association, and inhibiting a social mobility that might have been possible in previous eras, further dehumanizing them. Legend had it that the Jewish therianthropes, or shapeshifters, would rob tombs at night in hyena form, defiling bones and consuming any human flesh that remained. A lingering smell of rotting flesh was believed to be the best way to identify the were-hyena once it had transformed back into human. Were-hyena's ties to the Jews of Ethiopia is mostly a thing of past. Most Ethiopian Jews were either forced to convert to Christianity in the 19th and early 20th centuries, or emigrated to Israel in a series of operations orchestrated by the Israeli government in the 1980s. Elsewhere in Africa, the were-hyena takes on a slightly different property as well. In Somalia, it transforms by rubbing itself with a magic stick at sundown. The Sudan version is more violent and is known for attacking lovers after dark. In Morocco, all were-hyenas are believed to transform every night after sunset and return to human form at dawn. All these myths share a common thread: the fear of the other, and nature's ability to disrupt life for those who don't respect her power. Belief in were-hyenas is still fairly widespread today in the rural Horn of Africa, particularly in villages like Atuga, where the threat and promise of wilderness still governs everyday life. There, mothers still send their children to bed with a tale about were-hyenas, assuring them that if they heed the warnings, beastly cackling won't be the last sound they ever hear. The word Boda was used many times, and this is a belief of something, a belief of the evil eye, but here's a little more information on that word. In Ethiopian and Iridian folk religion is the power of the evil eye and the ability to change into a hyena. Boda is generally believed by the wider society to be power held and wielded by those in a different social group, for example, among the Beta Israel or metal workers. The belief is also present in Sudan and Tanzania, and among the Berber people of Morocco. Belief in the evil eye, or Boda, is still widespread in Ethiopia. The Beta Israel, or Ethiopian Jews, are often characterized by others as possessing Boda. Other castes, such as ironworkers, are often labeled as bearing the Boda. In fact, the Amharic word for manual worker, tabit, is also used to denote one with the evil eye. The alleged evil power of the tabit is believed to be at the level similar to that of witches. Boda's alleged prevalence among outsiders correlates with the traditional belief that evil eye curses themselves are rooted in envy. As such, those allegedly possessing the power of Boda might do so because of a malevolent spirit. One study specifies that they are believed to be empowered by an evil spirit. Niall Finneran describes how the idea of magical creation underpins the perception of artisans in Ethiopia and in a wider African context. In many cases, these skills have been acquired originally from an elemental source of evil via the parental lineage. Rather like the Faustian pack, the power of the evil eye allows its bearer to change into a hyena, allowing him or her to attack another person while concealing their human identity. Some Ethiopian Christians carry an amulet or talisman known as the kittib, or invoke God's name to ward off the ill effects of Boda. A Dedera who is either an unordained priest and or educated layperson who practices traditional medicine and sometimes magic, creates these protective amulets or talismans. Ordained Ethiopian Orthodox priests also continue to intervene and perform exorcisms on behalf of those believed to be afflicted by demons or Buddha. Such persons are brought to the church or prayer meeting. Amsalu Galita, in a modern case study, relates elements that are common to Ethiopian Christian exorcisms. It includes singing praise and victory songs, reading from the scripture, prayer, and confronting the spirit in the name of Jesus. Dialogue with the spirit is another important part of the exorcism ceremony, and it helps the counselor or exorcist to know how the spirit was operating in the life of the demonic. The signs and events mentioned by the spirit are affirmed by the victim after deliverance. The exorcism is not always successful, and Galita notes another instance in which the usual methods are unsuccessful and the demons apparently left the subject at a later time. In any event, in all cases, the spirit is commanded in no other name than the name of Jesus. All right, guys, I hope you enjoyed that. I know I did. I really did. I sit here a lot, excuse me, and I think about all the different encounters, scientific facts, or different religion beliefs, and this Boda connection just kind of tied some loose ends up for me. Like we have the Nephilim, which a large amount of people who believe in Bigfoot and cryptids believe that the Nephilim is Sasquatch. It's an amazing theory, yeah. I agree with it sometimes. I really do. It's hard to, but this is one of those times that I kind of do, because we have the Boda, which is a Ethiopian Jewish term. Jesus was the King of Jews. I mean, everything's connected. Here we go. So the Nephilim is the modern day Sasquatch. Boda could possibly be Dogman, or is possibly a skinwalker. And it really all ties together if you think about it long enough. Just like Native Americans, the Navajo have the skinwalker, the Ojibwe have the bear walker, and they're all shapeshifters. And they're all done by magic. We're thousands of miles away. There was no way that an African tribeman could connect with a Native American and, share these beliefs. So, I mean, to me it seems like everything just got separated at one time. And a lot of people believe that the birthplace of humanity is Africa. I am one of those who do, because if you think about it, everything that we discuss or talk seems to have an arrow pointing back to Africa. And that's, I don't know, I just was blown away by this, and I really liked it, and I'm sorry for rambling. I'm going to throw in another encounter, but there's nothing to do with any sort of African encounters or attacks. So here we go. Today's third part of the upload. My family owns a 100-acre farm between Princeton and Fredonia, Kentucky. I'm telling you an encounter told to me by my aunt and uncle and cousin. It started with odd noises, whistling, and a bad smell. Then something that can only be described as a Bigfoot started making appearances around my aunt and uncle's farmhouse. It kept its distance from the house. He would stand a couple of acres back near the barn. Then one night while my aunt was home alone, she heard something on the back porch. It's an enclosed back porch that has no back door, only a door leading into the home. She went to the back of the house, and when she went to peer outside, the Bigfoot was standing on the back porch. She said it was around 7 feet tall, shoulders broader than the door, and was hunched down, peering in. She was so scared that she called my other aunt and uncle and had them run over. They called the police, and they came and were looking around. Nothing was found, and Bigfoot never came near the farmhouse again. Another incident happened a little bit after this. My uncle and cousin were walking after dark in the back fields. They were looking for whatever frightened my aunt. They were in a small bunch of trees when my cousin felt something breathing down at him. He frantically started for the flashlights, which they had off. He said by the time he turned it on, the creature had bailed. He said that they had to have been up in the trees. Another incident happened with my aunt, this before the back porch incident. She was out walking through the forest and decided to lie down next to a tree and take a rest. After she woke from her little nap, something had quietly left wildflowers beside her. I know there's more stories I'm forgetting, but these are the more interesting ones that I've been told. These are all true and happens to my family in the mid-90s. No sightings has happened since then. I do believe he still may be around. Sometimes we find dead animal bones in the back field, some with odd marks, not like a coyote would do. We don't have any big game that lives out around here. Today's fourth encounter may be our own version of the Boda. Hoxton, Delaware, 1993. I was 7 or 8 years old and visiting my parental grandparents with the rest of my family. They lived deep in the woods, and I always hated it there. I felt like something was always watching, and it was eerily quiet. Not even crickets were chirping. My little brother and I shared a bed in one room on the ground floor. My brother would sleep at one end with his head against the window, and I would be at the other, facing the window. This particular morning I woke up first. The sun was brilliant, making the room gold through the curtains. And there, a silhouette against the window, was a deer with the biggest rack of antlers I had ever seen. It was right there, like almost pressing against the window in profile. I stared in awe, and that is when it changed in one smooth movement. It reared up on its hind legs and was no longer a deer, but a man. There were only 2 men in that area, my granddad and my dad. And it was clearly neither. Not sure if that made it better or worse. Granddad was very built for his age. Dad had a gut. This silhouette was clearly younger, muscular, but not like a brick the way my granddad was. It exuded strength and scared the hell out of me. It started to the side of the moment and then strode off with purpose. Looking back, I wanted to tell myself it was just my imagination, and I was half awake, but I remember the awe and then the utter fear I felt when this thing changed. Today's final encounter. I'm not sure what this would be, but I can describe like it was yesterday. I was either 13 or 14. I was at my cousin's house, and we were playing hide and seek outside. He lived in the more woodsy part of northeastern Ohio. His house had a creek that ran down one side of the property, and the driveway was on the opposite side of the house. It was getting dark, and I was the one searching. I heard leaves crumbling, and then I turned to look and saw what looked like a deer on its hind legs. I clearly remember seeing dog's legs running, but the rest of the body was straight up, and it ran with incredible speed. And I knew it was not either of my cousins hiding. I ran as fast as I could to get back to the house, and one of my cousins was running in too. He saw the same thing. It still creeps me out to this day, because my uncle always told us how he saw weird things on that property. Alright guys, I hope you enjoyed today's upload. Sorry for the rambling in the middle of it while I was discussing a little bit of that stuff, but I don't know. I just kind of sometimes like throwing my theory out there. And then when I'm talking about it, it's always a ramble. When I get into something, I don't know, I just ramble like an idiot, so I apologize, but I hope you did enjoy the upload, because I really did. I really enjoyed the educational and scientific part of today's upload. Love encounters, don't get me wrong, but I really would like to know what we're up against someday. So with that, I'm going to bid y'all farewell and see ya!